Another day of Stanley Cup playoff hockey is in the books, and it started early with the Avalanche. Game 2 of the series against Arizona. Now, I did not expect a repeat of Game 1 because that was a game where the Avalanche just totally dominated Arizona, but it was scoreless all the way until we got that quick burst of goals in less than a minute and a half in the third period. I expected Arizona to just come back fighting, and they did. They did. Even after Mac got the goal early, his second goal of the playoffs. His first was in that round robin game against Vegas. Um, they tied the game, though it was kind of a weird own goal. Gerard kind of accidentally tipped it into his own net, but they tied it up, and then took the lead back. But we couldn't enjoy it as it was tied up again like that. So and also unlike game one, it was filled with penalties. It was weird. I said this on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at CED version 2. Go follow me. Um, I said it's weird. The referees are calling everything and calling nothing at the same time. But each side got 4 power plays, not one puck went in. Arizona actually had a brief 5-on-3, but that was killed. And Arizona actually killed 2 of their own power plays with penalties of their own. But in the final moments, Andre Burakovsky, Dr. Dre, I call him on Twitter, put it in with a couple minutes left, and that was the difference. The Avalanche won 3-2, and we're up 2-0 in our series against Arizona. A game Arizona team. This was not the game one Coyotes. No. These Coyotes were shooting. Matter of fact, they ended up out shooting the Avalanche in that game. But yeah, Colorado took game 2, and after that was a horrendous display by the Flyers. Uh, first off, the Canadians dealt with a little bit of a health scare as Claude Julien, their head coach, had to be hospitalized with a heart problem. Though he's fine, which is good. Though it's been announced that he won't return for the remainder of this. I think for the remainder of the series, I believe. So Kirk Muller was behind the bench, and the sentiment was that the Habs kind of played for Julien, and boy did they. Um, Carey Price, the price was right, and and the and the Habs end up winning 5-0. Two of those goals scored by Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who has 4 in the playoffs. So yeah, so that series is even. And what's a day in the Stanley Cup playoffs without overtime? 4 days, 4 overtime games. I'm sensing a trend here, but yeah, the Blues and the Canucks ended up going to overtime. It looked like Vancouver was actually going to collapse. They were up 3-1, and then the Blues cut it in half. And then with 6 seconds left, David Perron, who was basically, for the most part, represented a vast majority of the Blues' offense this postseason, tied things up. However, it was Bo Horvat who escaped after getting a pass from Quinn Hughes and put it in past Binnington to give Vancouver a 4-3 win and a 2-0 lead. That's right, the defending Stanley Cup champions, they're in a bit of a hole. Now, last season, of course, saw the defending champions, at the time it was the Washington Capitals. Last season saw the defending champion Washington Capitals out in round 1. Though that was a crazy back and forth series where the home team won each of the first 6 games until Carolina took it in double overtime in DC. Brock McGinn with the winner. So that series was kind of close. I don't know what this is. The Blues offense needs to wake up. Somebody other than David Perron needs to put the puck in the net consistently. This is not a team effort. This is not a team effort from what I'm seeing. I mean, they got beat badly. They got beat badly and soundly in game 1. In game 2, they had a disappointing overtime loss. But things need to change, or else the Blues on the receiving end of a surprising, well, by some standards, early exit. So that's what's going on there. And another team. And speaking of Washington, they're down 2-0, thanks to our old boy Semyon Varlamov stopping things. Even after Ovechkin scored in the first minute, and the Islanders are just fascinating. There's a reason. See, this is why I picked them to win that series, because I'm on NHL.com and I'm actually pointing at the 5-2 score on my laptop. But this is why I picked the Islanders to win that series, because Islanders are good enough to kind of mess with those superpowers. They did it to Pittsburgh, and they're doing it to Washington. They're up 2-0. They're up 2-0, and they're the road team in the series. They're the 5 seed in Washington. No, they're the 6 seed in Washington's 3. So and of course the night ended with the first game 3 of this year's playoffs, and that went the way of the Flames because Dallas couldn't find the net. There's a reason why I picked Calgary to win that series too, because I watched Dallas the round robin, and they absolutely sucked. I think, well, the only really good game was game 2, when they scored 5 and they won in the final minute. The other games have either been pedestrian or worse. And the worst game, obviously, was the round robin game against the Avalanche. They just were kaput. And now Dallas is down 2-1 in that series. Meanwhile, Calgary seems to be playing much better in this year's playoffs than they did last year. Last year they had the one game, and then they completely checked out. It was either blown leads late or blowouts last year. This year they've got their mojo together, and as a result, they're up 2-1 in this conference quarterfinal. Now, what's in store for us puckheads tomorrow? The day starts at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. here in the West Coast, with Game 3 between Boston and Carolina, and that series is 1-1. And then it's game 3 between Colorado and Arizona. That's right, it's a back-to-back for the Avalanche. Game 3 between the Avs and Coyotes, and the Coyotes are kind of in well, anytime you're down 0-2 in a best of 7, that's desperation mode. Because if you win, you can make it a series and have a shot at evening things. If you lose, your back's against the wall. Because down 0-3, that's a big hole. Though in hockey, that's been manageable. Just ask the Sharks, who blew such a lead. That's at Colorado, Arizona. That's at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. Later on, it's Tampa Bay and Columbus. That has to be the best series out of the 8 played already, because you had the 5 overtime thriller, and then Columbus, despite being immensely exhausted and Korpisalo having to stop literally everything, they managed to win that game 2, and even things up. So now it's game 3. It's a pivotal game 3. The winner takes the lead, obviously. And finally, it's game 3 between Vegas and Chicago. Vegas is coming off an overtime win in game number 2. And Vegas is up 2-0. And they've been beast in this year's playoffs. I think they're the highest scoring team in the playoffs right now, because they scored quite a bit in the round robin. And they scored quite a bit in the round robin. They've been scoring a lot in this series. So yeah, Vegas, it seems to be on the right track. And will we get overtime tomorrow? The pace says we will. And here's the thing about overtime: it's been spread out. It's been spread out through all the series because in the beginning of round one, it was Tampa Bay and Columbus that had the multiple overtime, and then it was who else was it? The double overtime between Boston and Carolina in the game that was pushed back because of the 5 overtime game. That was that was uh, uh, that was Wednesday. That was Wednesday. Yesterday, it was Vegas, Chicago that had the overtime, and tonight it was Vancouver and St. Louis. Now here's the scary thing: it's a 4 game schedule. 3 to 4 games are series who've already had their taste of playoff overtime. The one that hasn't, Colorado and Arizona. And I've jokingly said I can go playoff overtime as long as we're not in it. Nah, but all kidding aside, the Avalanche in playoff overtime is good, but we need. But if we ever do have to play an extra period, we need to put it away like that. So far, the shortest overtime is the one from tonight, because Bo Horvath scored 5:55 in overtime. So, which is shorter than the previous um, mark set with the Vegas game. But yeah, so the Avalanche actually had to play that magnificent playoff overtime. Great, just score quickly. Okay, so that's what's in store for tomorrow. And since it's the weekend, I might as well just go ahead and tell what's in store for Saturday for not Saturday for Sunday. It's 5 games Sunday, and it's Washington the Islanders game 3, game 4 between Dallas and Calgary. Calgary up 2-1. Vegas and Chicago playing back to back game 4, and tomorrow's game will determine whether that's an elimination game or not. Game 3 between Philly and Montreal, that's 1-1, and St. Louis in a must-win situation because they don't want to go down 0-3. That's on Sunday. So that's my recap of day number 4 of this magnificent round 1 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. It's been crazy so far, but there's a lot more to come, and I'll be back to recap tomorrow's action tomorrow night. So until then.